There's a plant growing through the crack in your driveway right now. You've probably pulled it, poisoned it, paid someone to kill it. It contains more calcium per stem than milk per glass. It fed Roman legions. Clothed Bronze Age Europe. Survived the last ice age by storing minerals other plants couldn't reach. For 5,000 years, it was considered so valuable that communities harvested it in early spring before anything else broke through the soil, because it could mean the difference between malnutrition and survival. Then it vanished. Not from the earth, from memory. You still see it everywhere. Roadsides, abandoned lots, the edge of forests, that neglected corner of the yard. But you've been trained to see it as the enemy. Invasive, dangerous, worthless. Here's what they don't tell you. It didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it worked too well. Because it required no patent, no supply chain, no annual purchase. Because it grew for free on land nobody wanted in soil too disturbed for crops, and it asked for nothing. And that made it dangerous. Not to you. To the system that needed you to buy calcium in a bottle. To forget that bones were built for millennia without dairy farms or supplement aisles. To see a weed instead of a pharmacy. This is the story of how a plant that once clothed armies and healed civilizations became something you spray with Roundup. How the most nutrient-dense, resilient, free-growing bone builder on the planet got labeled invasive, not by ecology but by economics. And how you can still find it. Right now, growing in the crack. Welcome to Forgotten Nature Vault, where we dig up the living systems modern life taught you to forget. Before I tell you what this is, you need to understand what it did, and why that made it dangerous. Because once you know the name, you'll see it everywhere, and you'll start asking questions nobody wanted you to ask. Denmark, 2800 BCE archaeologists open a Bronze Age burial site and find something unexpected. Cloth, not wool, not linen. Fiber from this plant, woven tight enough to survive nearly 5,000 years in the ground. It wasn't decorative, it was structural, rope, fabric, fishing nets, sails. Fast forward to 900 CE. Anglo-Saxon medical texts describe it in obsessive detail, used for stopping bleeding, easing joint pain, and as a spring tonic when stored winter food ran low. The instructions are specific. Harvest the tops before flowering, boil briefly, consume the water and the greens. Across the Atlantic, Pacific Northwest tribes did the same. They harvested the young tops in early spring and used the roots for cordage, strong enough to hold fishing weirs. Great Lakes communities taught children to recognize it by touch. Even the sting was information. Here's why. 481 milligrams of calcium per 100 grams cooked. Milk has 120 milligrams per 100 milliliters. It also contains iron, magnesium, and a complete amino acid profile. But the mechanism is deeper. This plant sends roots down 5 feet or more, into subsoil where most vegetables can't reach. It pulls calcium, silica, and trace minerals up from stone. Then it concentrates them in the leaves. It didn't just feed people, it fed them minerals the topsoil had lost. A plant this valuable, this resilient, this free. What could possibly turn it into public enemy number 1? You're about to learn the name. Subscribe now, because once you know it, you'll see it everywhere. And you'll wonder why no one ever told you. It's stinging nettle, Urtica dioica. And the reason you've been trained to hate it has nothing to do with the sting. 1957, the USDA publishes updated extension bulletins for suburban homeowners. Nettle appears on the list, noxious weed. Recommended action, eradication. Suggested method, chemical herbicide. This wasn't about ecology, it was about aesthetics and economics. Post-World War II, America had a new vision, the lawn. Monoculture grass, uniform, controlled. A symbol of order. Anything that grew without permission was reclassified, from food to threat. Wild became invasive, free became worthless. But here's the part nobody explains. Nettle doesn't fit the business model. It requires no seed purchase, no fertilizer, no pesticide, no annual replanting. It grows on disturbed soil, roadsides, abandoned lots, forest edges, places that generate no profit. It spreads through rhizomes, which means once it's there, for free. Compare that to the calcium economy. The dairy industry is built on repeat purchase. Milk spoils, you buy more. The supplement industry is built on extraction and packaging. Nettle becomes a capsule you buy at markup. The lawn care industry is built on maintenance, herbicides, mowing services, reseeding every spring. Nettle breaks all three models, so the mechanisms kicked in. Stigmatization. Stinging equals dangerous. Weed equals worthless. Extension bulletins focused on eradication methods, not nutritional value. The USDA nutrition database lists nettle, 481 milligrams calcium per 100 grams. But there were no public education campaigns, no school programs, no food stamps accepted for foraged greens. Then came liability. Foraging on public land exists in a legal gray area. Foraging on private land without permission is trespassing. Teaching people to identify it opens educators to risk. What if someone gets the ID wrong? What if someone has an allergic reaction, so it stayed silent, and the consequences compounded? Osteoporosis now affects 10 million Americans. Another 44 million are at risk. Topsoil continues to erode. Nettle's deep roots could stabilize disturbed land, but it's removed. 3 generations have grown up not recognizing the most calcium-dense plant in their own backyard. The dependency is complete. Calcium comes from a carton, or a bottle, or a prescription for bone density drugs that cost $1,200 a year. Not from a plant growing for free in the driveway. If you're still watching, you're rare. Most people will never connect their bone health to a plant they spray with Roundup. They'll never ask why a food this powerful was erased from public memory. This knowledge was suppressed once. Don't let it happen twice. Share this. Send it to someone who's paying for calcium supplements while nettle grows in their yard. Because forgetting isn't passive, it's profitable. So why is nettle still sidelined? Stigma persists. There's no commercial infrastructure for fresh nettle, no distribution, no grocery aisle, no branding. Foraging laws vary by state and municipality. Educators face liability concerns, and convenience still wins. Frozen spinach doesn't require gloves or identification skills. But then the science caught up. Studies published in the 2010s and 2020s confirmed what Bronze Age communities already knew. Nettle's minerals are highly bioavailable. European clinical trials demonstrated anti-inflammatory effects. Nettle extract showed promise for joint health and prostate health, so much so that it's now sold in capsules across Europe. Here's the practical reality. Nettle grows in every temperate zone in North America. It thrives in nitrogen-rich disturbed soil, the edges of gardens, compost piles, abandoned fields. Harvest the young tops in spring before flowering. Wear gloves. The sting comes from formic acid in tiny hairs. It breaks down completely with heat or drying. Use it like spinach, soups, pesto, tea, sautéed with garlic. You can forage it where legal, grow it from seed, or buy it dried from herbalists. It's still here, waiting. We're living through a bone health crisis, a soil crisis, a food system so fragile it can't survive without subsidies and supply chains stretched across continents. And in the middle of it, there's a plant growing in the crack in your driveway. The same plant that clothed Bronze Age Europe. That fed Roman legions, that kept indigenous communities alive through lean springs. It feeds without asking for fertilizer. It survives where lawns fail. It asks only that you remember. Right now, someone is spraying it with herbicide. Someone else is buying calcium supplements at $30 a bottle. And a nettle patch is reclaiming a forgotten lot. Roots pulling minerals from stone, waiting for someone to notice. You can pull it, or you can learn from it. This is Forgotten Nature Vault. Send this to one person who would actually use it.